Chapter 19. Packages from America. Eventually, the supply of food brought home from Eschenrod ran out, and again the family went hungry. But God always provided. Faithful church members continued to pay their tithe in food items, a head of cabbage here, a few potatoes there. Once Franz brought home a 100-pound bag of navy beans. How delicious they smelled when Helena cooked them. After she dished them into bowls, however, the children quickly lost their appetite when they noticed maggots floating on top. But in the end, hunger won out. They scooped off the maggots and ate the rest. Sometimes, amid the dreariness, there were bright spots. It was Lotta's job to walk the 2 miles to the Högelstrasse every other day to buy the family's supply of milk. One blustery day, as she was fighting her way through a biting storm, an army jeep full of American soldiers roared by. Something hit her body. When she glanced up, she saw that the young GIs were waving to her. On the ground around her lay rolls of lifesavers, the first she had ever seen. Delightedly, she grabbed the colorful candy and hid it deep in her pocket. Another time, early in the spring, Helena wanted to make a sauce to serve with the oatmeal, so she sent Gert to their leased garden plot to see if any of the rhubarb stalks were big enough to pick. Though he carefully looked the garden over, he saw only rhubarb sprouts. Disconsolately, he was trudging back along the muddy path when he saw a lone American soldier standing in the field holding a huge brown paper bag. He beckoned to Gert and put the bag into his arms. "Please take this to your mother right away," he said in fluent German. Dumbfounded, Gert took the bag and staggered home with it. Inside, the family discovered enough groceries to last a week. Powdered eggs, powdered milk, butter, dried fruit, flour. "Gert, did you thank this man?" "No, Mutti, I was too surprised to know what to say." "Go back immediately and thank him. This is an answer to prayer." Gert went back, but even though he could see miles across the flat fields, there was no one there. Sometime later, Helena sent Gert to the basement to fetch potatoes for breakfast. Gert carefully searched for anything edible, but the shelves were empty, the sacks lay limp. In one of the barrels he found a single small potato. Helena cut it into 6 slices and fried them for breakfast, 1 small slice of potato for each person. That morning, Franz spent an extra long time saying grace. He reminded God how he had provided throughout all the hard years and asked him to continue to sustain the family. With growling stomachs, the children waited for the interminable prayer to end. Then Helena said, "Eat your food very slowly. God has given you 32 teeth, so that you can chew each bite 32 times. If you eat slowly, the food is more filling." They ate slowly, but left the table hungry anyway. The older children went to school. A little while later, Franz got out his bicycle to make some pastoral visits. "I'll be back at noon," he said, "so you can have lunch ready by then." Helena rolled her eyes. "I will, if we have anything to fix. Remember, we're out of food." Helena spent the morning doing housework while Susi tagged along dusting and polishing the furniture. Helena's heart was heavy, knowing the children would be starving by the time they came home from school. At 11:45, she decided that she would boil some water and put a little salt in it. "We'll just have to pretend it's soup," she thought. As she filled the kettle at the sink, she glanced out the kitchen window and noticed that the mail van had drawn up outside the house. Curiously, Helena watched as the mailman got out a gigantic package. "I wonder who that's for," she thought. Then she turned around and put the kettle on the burner. At that moment, the doorbell rang. Susi went to answer it and then came running back. "Mutti, a man wants you." Helena went to the door where the mailman handed her the delivery book to sign. "Frau Hasel, I have a package from America for you. Please sign that you have received it." "Oh," said Helena, disappointed. "If it's from America, it isn't for us. We don't know anybody there. It must be a mistake." "It's for you," the mailman said. "Look, that's your address, isn't it?" Helena bent over the brown paper. The address was in large block letters. Familie Hasel, Frankfurter am Main, Nutzheil 97. There could be no mistaking it. Mystified, she looked the package over. On the wrapping in bold red letters were the words, "Gift Parcel." Helena's face blanched. She grabbed the doorframe for support. Gift in German means poison. Stunned, she said, "Why are they sending us a poison parcel from America? Who wants to destroy us now? I don't want this." The mailman smiled. "Frau Hasel, in English, a gift is a present." "Oh," Helena took a trembly breath. "Then I'll accept it." In a daze, she signed the delivery book and heaved the heavy package onto the kitchen table. She cut the dirty string and tore the worn wrapping paper. Out came a sturdy cardboard box filled with food. There was a bag of Pillsbury flour, a can of Crisco shortening, macaroni, powdered milk, powdered eggs, rice, sugar, dehydrated potatoes, cookies, soup mixes, nuts, dried California figs, and other fruit. A mysterious wrestling bag turned out to be M&Ms. The table was piled high. Helena felt her knees buckle. Quickly she sat down. "Thank you, Lord," she whispered fervently. "Why did I ever doubt you? A package from America. You have promised that even before we call, you will answer. This package has traveled across the ocean for weeks, and we did not know then that we would need it so badly this very day, but you knew all along." Now Helena jumped up. It was just a few minutes before noon. The salted water was already boiling. Quickly she dumped some macaroni in and put some prunes to stew in another pot. Soon delicious smells wafted through the house. The doorbell rang again. 2 short rings and 1 long one, the family signal. The children burst through the door. "Oh, Mutti," they wailed, "we are so hungry, and someone somewhere is cooking wonderful food." "Come into the kitchen," Helena said with a radiant smile. "I have a surprise for you." Their eyes bulged when they saw the loaded kitchen table. Now they knew that it was their own meal they had smelled in the hallway outside. Soon all were seated around the table, and for the first time in weeks they all ate their fill. After the meal, the family wondered about the origin of this mysterious package. Carefully they pieced the torn wrapping paper together and deciphered the return address. A name, a street in Lodi, California. They had never heard of Lodi and knew no one there. Immediately they wrote a thank you letter telling about the parcel's mysterious and miraculous arrival. Several months passed, no reply. Not realizing that Lodi has a large population of Germans, they decided that the sender probably couldn't understand German. So they wrote a second letter and had someone from the church translate it into English. After 6 months the letter came back, the torn, dirty envelope bearing a large red postal service stamp. Returned to sender, addressee unknown. Who was the mysterious benefactor? About a year after the enigmatic parcel, another package arrived from Lodi, California. This time the sender was someone named Lillian Bunch, who lived at a different address. In large letters it again bore the legend, "Gift Parcel." In her panic, Helena forgot what the mailman had told her months before. "Stay away from this box," she shouted to the children, "or we'll all die." "Mutti, it's okay." Fortunately, Kurt had learned a few words of English in school and could reassure her. "Gift means it's a present." "Oh, that's right." Relieved, Helena opened the package. Again there was food. Again the Hasels composed a thank you letter, and this time they got an answer. Once Lillian learned that the Hasels had 3-year-old Susi, she wrote back that she had a 3-year-old son, Tom. From that time on, she always included a small toy in the package of food. Once it was a set of tin doll dishes with Mickey Mouse on them. The children were intrigued but mystified. German kids knew nothing of Mickey Mouse. Another time there were 4 jigsaw puzzles, each made up of 7 large pieces. Time and again, Susi would carefully put them together and then study the pictures. A pretty girl with blonde curls in a frilly rose-red dress playing with a dollhouse. A freckled boy raking leaves into a tiny wheelbarrow in front of his white clapboard house. The scenes were exotic and unfamiliar, pictures of something Susi had never seen, a country not ravished by war. Another package contained a 3-inch-long baby doll, and another a strange utensil that had turning blades when you pushed it. Nobody could figure out what it was. Susi used it to pretend she was whipping cream or sharpening a pencil. Only when she came to America 15 years later did she discover its use. It was a toy hand-pushed lawnmower. But the most marvelous thing of all was a small sky-blue sleigh with curved runners, intricate gingerbread decorations, and 2 yellow seats. A St. Bernard was hitched to it by a red harness, and 2 tiny children were waving their hands as they gleefully glided along. The entire toy fit into the palm of Susie's small hand. For several years, Lillian's packages arrived at regular intervals, always containing the most essential food items. In addition to Susie's toy, there were other treats, a Hershey chocolate bar or a bag of hard candy. Sometimes the food was puzzling, like the jar filled with a thick brown paste. Lotta tried to eat a spoonful and discovered that while it tasted good, it stuck to her mouth. That was the Hasels' introduction to peanut butter. As the years went by and the country recovered from the war, starvation was no longer a constant threat. Now 6, Susie was just getting ready to start school when she caught whooping cough. Day and night she was racked by spasms of coughing that made it impossible for her to breathe. For weeks she had the terrifying feeling that she was going to suffocate, and Mother and Lotta took turns sitting by her bed and wiping the sweat off her blue little face. Finally she recovered, and Helena laid out the clothes she'd need for school. During her daughter's illness she'd washed and ironed Susie's few clothes, and now she tried them on her. "Oh, horror!" she gulped. "Lotta, look! Susie outgrew her clothes while she was sick." "School starts tomorrow," Lotta said. "What are we going to do?" That afternoon another package arrived from Lillian Bunch. These were always red-letter days, and again the whole family gathered around and eagerly waited for the string to be cut. As the wrapping paper fell away, there arose the now familiar smell they associated with America. When the flaps were folded back, everybody gasped in surprise. For the first time in 3 years, the box contained no food. Instead, it was filled with dresses for a 6-year-old girl, a blue and white striped dress with a white bib, a plaid dress with ruffles and puffed sleeves, a red polka dot that tied in the back. Each dress was exquisite. These were clothes like the girls in the puzzle pictures wore. No one in Germany owned anything so beautiful. Round-eyed, Susie watched as the marvelous carton was unpacked. At the very bottom, there appeared a small red button-up cardigan. This red sweater immediately caught Susie's fancy. Of all the clothes she owned, she loved it the most. She wore it until the elbows were worn through and Helena had to cut the sleeves off to make it into a short-sleeved sweater. It served for another year. By that time it had grown too small and was very shabby. Still, no matter how much Helena coaxed and pleaded, Susie could not be persuaded to get rid of it. Then, one day, it disappeared. When Susie woke up in the morning, the sweater had simply vanished. "Kurt, Lotta, Mutti, have you seen my sweater?" They just shrugged their shoulders. Disconsolately, Susie ran from room to room and searched the wardrobes and the drawers. There was no sign of the red sweater. Finally, she realized that it was gone for good. She didn't talk about it much anymore, but she remembered. Fall came, then winter. Finally, it was Christmas. Under the tree was a small gift for everyone, but hidden way in the back stood a box for Susie. Eagerly, she wanted to tear the paper off, but Papa Franz said, "Slow down. Don't tear the paper or the ribbon. Open the wrappings carefully so we can use them again." Painstakingly, her small fingers peeled away the wrappings. Finally, the lid came off. Susie took one look inside and squealed with delight. There was an entire outfit for her baby doll. A hat, a scarf, mittens, a sweater, and pants. Mother had carefully cut her red sweater apart and remade it into doll garments. Susie was thrilled. Now she could keep her red sweater forever. Many years later, after Susie had immigrated to the United States and settled at Pacific Union College in Angwin, California, she learned that Lodi was not too far away. She contacted the pastor there and arranged to visit the church on a Sabbath morning. She told the story of that miraculous first parcel of food in the hopes a church member would remember having sent it. No one did. At that point, Susie didn't remember Lillian Bunch's name, and Lillian wasn't present that Sabbath and therefore didn't hear Susie's story. Several years later, Susie received a phone call at work. "My name is Lillian Bunch," a voice on the other end said. "I sent packages to your family after the war." "Oh," Susie cried, "how did you find me? I've been looking for you for years." The two women arranged to meet, and Lillian came to Angwin to visit Susi. She told a strange story. She and her sister were planning a trip to Germany. Lillian remembered the Hasel family and wondered if she could locate any of them. She looked up the name in the Seventh-day Adventist yearbook and found Kurt Hasel listed as a pastor in Germany. Recognizing that he was one of the children, she wrote to him and asked to visit him. He, in turn, told her that his sister lived at Pacific Union College. Now, finally, Susi was able to tell her benefactor how Lillian's generous packages had literally kept the Hasel family alive. She showed Lillian the little blue sleigh and the doll clothes made from the sweater, gifts she had treasured for 30 years and brought with her to America. The two women embraced, both of them crying. "How did you come to send packages to us in the first place?" Susi asked when she had dried her tears. "I heard about the terrible poverty in Germany," Lillian said. "I was a mother with young children then, and my heart went out to the German people. I wanted to help some family in need, so I went to my pastor. Together we picked a name out of the SDA yearbook, and it was your father's." "When did you start sending us parcels?" "In 1947. That meant that someone else had sent the very first package, since it had arrived a whole year before. Lillian knew nothing about it. Where had it come from?